right, we're gonna get started. Cameron Parish Police Jury's agenda morning session, Monday, July 7th, 2025. Say the Pledge of Allegiance, a prayer, and we're gonna follow that with a moment of silence for the flood victims from Texas. All right, welcome everybody. So, Ms. Robin, want to talk about the occupational licenses, or Ms. Katie?
No, that's me, Mr. Ronald.
Okay, all right.
Effective July 1st, the police jury is going to be the designated collector for occupational licensing. Historically, it has been the sheriff's department, but last year we voted to, or you voted to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the sheriff's office to collect it on their behalf. So that starts today. So anyone in the public that needs to get occupational licensing, they need to come to the police jury office, speak with Anita Ellis, or you can email her at adminassist@cameronpj.org.
Thank you.
Katie, can we put a notification on our social media for that, please?
All right, Tourist Commission update.
Good morning.
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 Good morning. I'm Carolyn Miller, and I am president of the Cameron Tourist Commission. Just going to give y'all a quick update on some of the things that the Tourist Commission is doing. We do operate on about a $90,000 annual budget. $50,000 of that budget is dedicated to community events, sponsorships, and promotional items. And then we are we're updating our website and our Facebook pages. The Facebook has been updated. We're getting really good results from that. We also work a lot with the Visit Lake Charles Creole Nature Trail Group and the Louisiana Office of Tourism, the Louisiana Travel Association, that keeps us connected to the trends of state and local tourists. And the passage of the HB 374 bill that's going to be collecting this 2% tax for people that are booking online is going to go to the state, and then it's going to be sent to the parish for collection. And we're looking for quite a bit increase of revenue from that tax.
And to dovetail off of that, when we're talking about the 2% occupancy tax, a lot of people get mixed up with occupational tax and occupancy tax. When we go to a hotel and you check out and you have your bill, we are paying a 2% tourism occupancy tax anywhere in Texas, Louisiana, anywhere. That money goes to the Tourist Commission. We have a 2%. Some people have 3 or 4%. Right now, Calcasieu has 1%, but the reason they are 1% is because they have such a high state and local tax that they don't want to put another percent on top of that for their tourism. Right now, House Bill 374 by McFarland passed the House and Senate, and it went to the governor. He has signed it. And what this is VRBO, all of your Airbnbs, any of your third-party online platforms that do registration or reservations, they will collect the 2%. And the 2% is paid by the visitor. It is not paid by the company, okay? It is a pass-through. It was started back in 1978. And right now, the parish collects that for us. But the Airbnb and all of those, they will send their 2%, remit it to the state, and the state will send it to the parish. And that will usually happen on the 20th of the month. And so we see that, for example, there are 162 162 VRBOs listed in Cameron Parish. 26, we only collect from 26 businesses. So we want to use this money wisely. We want to promote Cameron Parish. It is a wonderful place to live. It is a wonderful place to recreate. And the Tourist Commission is, we're promising that we're wanting Cameron Parish to be on the map, just like these other places in Louisiana. My name is Michelle Long, I'm sorry.
Ms. Michelle, got a question here. So you said 26 businesses currently?
Yes, sir.
And does this apply to like folks bringing in a camper like at Hollow Beach or wherever? I know they have some.
26 businesses that do, it has basically been on the honor system. They know they have a business, they know they're in tourism, they know that they should be sending in their 2%. Many don't in different areas. RVs are considered overnight lodging, and so they should be, but many do not. Now, that is something, a bridge that we're gonna have to cross to figure out how to implement it to everyone. The VRBOs and the Airbnbs, that will be taken care of. But the RV parks, that's a different story. We have some who do pay.
With the
Yeah.
RV parks, does it also go to the state first or?
It depends on if it's an online booking.
Okay,
So, for example, Myers Landing,
yes.
they have turned to an online booking system. So that will do the same thing. It will send it to any online booking system will do that. And it will send it to the state, and the state will remit it to the parish.
So who
Any other-
should be regulating or controlling that? Say like all these ones that not participating. Is there anybody that's supposed to be like, so to say, policing it or regulating it or?
In the past, the parish tried, and they had a hard time getting people to comply. And now I believe the parish will continue collecting, but Anita, Miss Anita, she's not here today, but I think that will be her duty. In the past, Miss Wendy had been doing it, but then it was very difficult to accomplish. And so we are in hopes that we can work with the parish to figure out the best system. And the reason for the House bill was because hotels wanted a level playing field. Hotels were sending theirs in, and they wanted the other, like Airbnbs, the host homes and things like that, to be comparable to the laws that they have to follow. Anything else?
Thank you.
Well, but that is sent in to the state. But you're saying that, we're trying, as a parish, or as a police jury, to try to get them to send it in. Is what you're saying, the 2%?
The 2%, there is the part that will be on Airbnb and VRBO. That's called a third-party reservation.
Right,
They will send it to the state.
right,
The people here in Cameron Parish who do not use a third-party booking,
okay,
they should be making collection from their tourists and remitting that 2% to the parish.
okay,
But we have never had an enforcement mechanism for that in Cameron Parish. It's
So-
been basically, people do it because they know they have to versus.
okay, so if the parish starts collecting those, then we send that to the tourist commission, not the state then?
Correct.
Those, okay, all righty.
Correct. It will go straight to the tourist, to the parish, then Ms. Kayla will put it into the tourist commission account, line item through the parish. Am I correct? Yes. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for your
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify one thing, that Ms. Michelle was talking about, the overnight camping. There is a proposed resolution that we're going to propose with this ordinance change that defines long-term overnight camping as 29 consecutive days. And so that actually is exempt from the hotel motel tax because it is more residential by nature and not tourist. So some RV parks, like especially in Holly Beach where they're just running out of spot for a weekend, that's considered short-term overnight camping. They're going to continue to collect it. Your overnight camping grounds around the LG facilities where there are people living here for 6, 7, 8 months at a time, after they stay the 29th consecutive day, it moves them into long-term, and then they're exempt from that 2%.
So then they don't, the longer they stay, they don't pay anything then.
Correct.
Correct. But the state legislature might have changed that a little bit. They're talking about looking at any kind of RV stay. These are people who are here and this is not their homestead. Let's say they live in another part of the state. They will not do the 29 days, but we can do that as a parish.
Correct.
And so we might have to see how this House bill turns out. And it would start in January 1st is when the remittance would go to the state, and the state would send it back to us. So that's something.
That would be for next year.
Yeah.
So it's up to you guys on how you define overnight camping. and
Okay.
What the threshold is.
And-
Most of the other parishes, they designate the 29 consecutive days.
Okay.
That's their cutoff.
And on it's not a RV park, on the beaches, Rutherford Beach, Holly Beach, there's no actual way to monitor that. So we have a lot of camper trailers would move in on those beaches for the big holidays.
Yeah, but it's just for the spots that are rented.
Right,
It's just for the spots that are rented, because there's no way to monitor the other ones otherwise, yeah.
right. And I spoke to Bobby Miller day before yesterday about the Rutherford Beach campers
Right,
and some of the problems. And so he and I are working up an idea. Don't want to really divulge that now, but it might help out.
okay.
And it would be pretty much easily enforceable. So that will come soon. And I'm doing that from the beachfront development side, not the tourism side. Questions? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Little. In light of the new hotel motel tax that is, those changes are coming about, and there will be some things different here in Cameron Parish, the Cameron Parish Tourism Commission thought this would be a great time to share with you our goals and our visions that we have as a commission for the parish. There will be significant funding that will increase our budget, which is very modest at this time. So we hope to be good stewards of that money. Also, the future entails substantial financial revenue from the LNG operations that are in Cameron Parish. And we know that the jury has already been in discussion with those companies to help out in the parish and do some things for tourism, which is very exciting. And we just wanted you to know that we have some goals and visions too as a tourism commission that want to be in line with what you guys are planning, and hopefully share that information so that we're all on the same page and we're working to that same goal. In light of that, we think that Cameron Parish needs a Cameron Parish tourism facility. A Cameron Parish tourism facility. We have such a treasure here. It is such a hidden gem that we should be showing it off. We should have places to do that for our children, for our teachers, for our visitors. If you look down in Sulphur, Sulphur has Adventure Point. Down the road, Jennings has Chateau Gator. Even Crowley, Acadia Parish, has a visitor center, and they're about to expand into this multifunctional facility that's going to include an event center and a sports center. So in light of that, that's something that we feel like Cameron Parish should have, and it could be made possible in the future with the sort of funding that's coming down the line. Now, I know that's going to take a long time. That's going to take a lot of coordination, a lot of funding, strategic economic planning. But in the meantime, we were trying to figure out a solution that would help. So we have been in contact with Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge. The refuge manager is Mr. Shane Baxter. There's a visitor center there. It is hardly ever open. Have you ever passed by the visitor center and said, why isn't it open? What is going on? Well, we asked that same question, and his issue is staffing. So we are looking at making a partnership with Cameron Prairie National Wildlife Refuge, a memorandum of understanding that we would volunteer at the visitor center to help it stay open, be more accessible to visitors, and even our own residents, students, teachers, anybody that would need a place to have an event. We've got a whole calendar of events that we're planning with them. We're excited to partner with them. We've sent the memorandum to Mr. Barrett's office to be reviewed to make sure that we're in line with that. And it would be at absolutely no cost to the Tourism Commission or the police jury. They would allow us to have office space there. They would allow us to have storage space there. And in exchange for the help as volunteers. Now, it's gonna take us a little bit to get a volunteer base going. I mean, half of our commission work full-time, some of us are retired, but once we get a volunteer base, that would help us, and we're reaching out to different organizations in the parish. We hope to get it open more than just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is what the plan is right now. It's currently being remodeled. Hopefully more than that, because the more it's open, the more people we can get there, the more events we can have there. We're really looking forward to partnering with the schools. I have a meeting set up with the superintendent. Grand Lake, Bell City, South Cameron, they're all within 20 minutes of that facility. We want to use it. We want to make it something really special. And hopefully, that's a first step in one of our goals and visions as a tourism commission. Any questions?
It looks like you said, it looks like it's not used at all anymore.
The schedule was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and because of his reduced staff, he had a budget person there opening the door, but nobody actually managing it. So, and they've had some remodeling issues and some things they had to clean up. So that's another reason it's probably been closed for the last couple of months.
Is this, again, it wouldn't cost anything to you, to the Tourist Commission?
No cost to the Tourism Commission at all. Now, we are looking at some things that would enhance the partnership. We're looking at some grants that could be written for maybe to expand the facility. I mean, at a Cameron Parish tourism facility, we would love to have an outdoor classroom, a discovery center, a birding observatory where any child or any person could go, whether they're handicapped or not, could go out onto the refuge and do birding or fishing. There are ponds out there. The ponds are loaded. Anybody know that? I mean, they're loaded. So, yeah, no cost to us, but we are looking at some grant opportunities that would help with that partnership.
Okay, yeah.
And that's probably what would be a big part of the Cameron Parish tourism facility that we're talking about in the future. There's lots of questions that need to be answered, like where would it be, how would it be operated, what would be the maintenance, that sort of thing. So lots of questions, but we're relying on you guys to help with these discussions, give us some ideas, give us your feedback, because this is important to Cameron Parish.
Ms. Little, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the past, wasn't that center ran with volunteers from the get-go?
I think so, and one of the ways that they did that, there's a group of people who are like, they call it their RV volunteers, like a couple from Georgia might come down and stay for 2 or 3 months as volunteers, like their RV would be parked there, and they would maintain the visitor center inside and out for a specified amount of time. So in the further past, I'll say even like 10 years ago, I remember them saying, we need volunteers, and there were some volunteers, but I don't think it was, and of course, you know, hurricanes set you back and that sort of thing, and federal government and the cuts. So yes, it has been run by volunteers before.
This is a huge, I like the idea. I like it a lot. 4-H groups, school field trips, they don't need to go to the bowling alley, and they don't need to go watch movies. They need to be out doing this sort of stuff.
That'd be great, yeah.
I agree.
And I love the idea, and I think y'all are heading in the right direction.
Thank you, and we wanted you we wanted to plant those seeds of thoughts and ideas with you today in light of this hotel motel tax that will increase the financial, you know, revenue of the Tourism Commission, and we want to be good stewards of those funds and put it in the direction for the future of our parish.
You know, I just want to say one more thing. You know, there is a shortage of jobs at the refuge, and it's for one reason, because a lot of these kids don't know anything about it. I mean, if you bring one kid there and it makes it worthwhile, so they can learn about this sort of things, that might be something that they are interested in, is biology. And you know, working for these refuges is a great job. People just I don't think everybody's exposed to it.
And it's right there.
It is.
It's right there. And including Sabine on the Hackberry side and Lacassine, you know, over there in Bell City. I mean, we want to service all 3 of those refuges in some way for our kids. You know, maybe we need 2 visitor centers. Maybe we need one on the east and one on the west. You know, sky's the limit.
It doesn't look like Sabine's used very much either anymore, huh?
It's not visitors.
They don't have a visitor
I don't,
center.
I never see anything.
They don't even have the bathrooms open.
Yeah.
They don't. They do have a new boardwalk that's being constructed, a new birding boardwalk that goes out to the marsh. And they do a good job of taking advantage of grants too. At Cameron Prairie, there's a grant through the Creole Nature Trail that the boardwalk is going to be refurbished in materials that'll be longer lasting in case of hurricanes. So how much is that project? That's a $3 million project.
It's gonna be a concrete boardwalk.
Yeah, at the Pintail Drive Boardwalk over there by Gibbstown, that's all gonna be refurbished, and that's through a grant. So they do make good use of those sorts of funding opportunities, and hopefully we will too.
I wanna support tourism industry all we can, and I love it. The refuge used to have a good youth hunting program, but back on the business end, Katie and Michelle and the permitting office, there's gonna be some costs in collecting the occupancy deal, and I think I read that we'll be collecting an administrative fee for that. Okay, because I imagine the state collects that also before it sends it to y'all.
I do not know.
Okay.
It is very
Because
new.
when one agency collects for another one, there's always costs, and there's always administrative fee for that. Whatever's fair, I just wanted to clear that up, I thought.
Yes, sir, we were requesting 2%.
Okay. Alrighty.
So 2% of the total monthly collections that we collect on behalf of the Tourist Commission will go into the general fund to offset the administrative costs of our accounting
Because
department.
it's gonna cost us to do that, yes.
Yes, sir. We asked around, they charge anywhere from 3 to 5% across the state. Some charge a flat fee. The most we've seen was $7,500 per month. But we think that 2% is more than fair, and we just would like to try to maybe break even. We don't actually.
That's down on the lower end, that's good,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Becky. All right, Ms. Dinah.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm back again today to talk about the situation that we have in Grand Lake by the Council on Aging office. In October of last year, we lost half of our parking spaces in one of our driveways. We had a circular driveway there because our parking spaces are really close together, and we don't have a lot of parking, but we lost half of it. And it was all due to the building of the new North EOC facility. At that time, we were told that everything would be put back as it was before, and that's been since October. I'm asking today that we push up the getting it back items that we need, because even though we put a temporary fix on the flooding there, we need to go ahead and get that taken care of and get our driveway back and get our parking spaces back. I've had to move all the senior citizen activities over to the apartment complex. I had to delay getting the shelf-stable meals in, and finally I had to go and rent a space over at the rental place to be able to put those meals. So we have done everything to accommodate this facility being built. And now I think it's time for us and the fire department to get back to the way we were. We need a driveway to get our service truck back inside. We've lost equipment, and now we're losing hoses from it being outside all the time. And we can't move it to the island because it's scheduled to be there. And that's what the fire department has to make a schedule where all the trucks are. So it can't be moved to a different area. It has to be located there. Right. And we're just having a tremendous amount of issues. We had the issue earlier where all of our sewage lines were chopped up and had to be relocated to a different spot. That was taken care of. We've had time and time again where our telephone lines, our fax line, our internet, everything has been demolished because of construction. And I do understand construction, but we're into it almost a year. And I would like to get y'all to help me to get back to the way we were.
So, Ms. Dinah, I know we already met once before. Did they make any leadway with this drainage issue?
Yes, they put a temporary fix on it.
Okay.
So that is working out pretty well. But that still leaves us with only the one driveway. We can't get supplies delivered. We can't get the meals in. I mean, it's causing us a tremendous amount of extra grunt work right now. And some of it we can't even put there. We can't even bring.
And I remember talking with the gentleman that come to speak on behalf of the contractors and that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember him saying they were supposed to put gravel or dirt or something back to the slab.
Well, and
what's
the day...
the process or...
The day that he was here talking to you guys, when he walked out, he motioned for me to go out. And he said, the police jury people have all that information. They have to do that. So I've talked to Randy about it, and he said that wasn't on the work schedule anywhere.
So do we know what's on the work schedule or what's factual or not factual?
Yes, I do, and
They're
it's my
supposed to be-
understanding.
They're supposed to be
Hold on,
tearing.
wait, please. It's my understanding that you had a conference call with them last week. Did they not brief you on everything? I'm just asking. I want to.
Yeah, they just told me it's coming up.
They
but-
didn't give you specific dates?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so.
There were no dates.
specific dates. July 14th is the expected start date to install all of the culverts and drainage, permanent drainage infrastructure. It is, they decided to go with concrete. As you all are probably pretty well aware, it has to cure. And so I think July 14th is the week that they plan to install it. The contractors are going to install all of the infrastructure. Our road crew is going to handle all of the dirt and limestone overlay. They're going to fix the two approaches. So I understand that it's been inconvenient for you. I do apologize, but with progress does come problems sometimes, and
I guess
we're
I
trying
just
to get
didn't-
through
yeah.
this as
I just
best we
didn't
can.
figure it was gonna take this long.
Yes, and so North Cameron EOC is still on schedule. August is right now the substantial completion date, which is, so it has been almost a year under construction. So as soon as we can get the building open to the public and substantially complete for the community, we'll make sure that all of the parking issues are addressed. In the meantime, you are welcome to use the North Cameron EOC parking while we do the driveways.
But the driveways and everything will be started on the
All the
14th.
14th. They're
On the
waiting
14th.
on the, like I said, they're waiting on all of the concrete catch basins to cure. They're going to deliver them on site, and then it'll take them 3 days. We're trying to coordinate, and I did tell them to make sure they coordinate the construction with you to make sure that they're planning around all of your events.
Yeah, because I'll have to cancel everything.
Right, we'll try to.
We
so-
won't have access to the building at all.
That's next
But
Monday.
that's okay. That's next week. That's fine.
We
So
are-
the 14th, it should be like the 14th, 15th, and 16th.
I will make a note. We are going to schedule a call for Friday to touch base with you and the contractors and narrow down the dates around your schedule. And then that way, when we do, it'll take 3 days, so you're gonna lose some access to some of parking and road until we can do everything, but it'll take 3 days.
Yeah,
to
because
install
I'll have to
everything.
cancel whatever I have for those dates. So we're gonna stick to those dates.
Yes, ma'am. Friday, you wanna plan to talk Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine,
Anything
because
else to
I
add?
just need to get it taken care of once and for all, and I do
Is
appreciate
that
you.
driveway gonna be just north of the truck station there, going?
It was the driveway I had before, where it
Okay.
made the circle
Okay.
drive.
Yeah, I
Where it
got you.
made the circle drive, and I haven't seen the written information, but does that include the driveway for the fire trucks too? Katie?
Yes, everything will be done at the same time.
Everything will be done at, okay. Well, I'll put that on the calendar, I'll schedule around that, and we're gonna stick to that one.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you, Donna.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, improvements to Broussard Beach Road.
Mr. President, I just want to introduce, or get this started. Stan Hudson will be up here in a minute to talk to you about the scope of work. Broussard Beach Road is in Cameron Community, Sonny's district. I called him and let him know what was happening. But it is a public road, runs east and west from Bobby's Lane to Beach Road. Understand the current condition is pretty bad. If you go out there, it's like a pasture road almost, but it is our public road. And Mr. Stan will come up here and talk about what he wants to do, or his company wants to do, why they're going to do it. And it says by Venture Global. It's a project that's a part of the CP2, but it's not Venture that's going to be making the improvements or that really needs it. It's a subcontractor. But with that, I'll let Stan.
Morning. My name's Stan Hudson. I'm with Onsite Concrete Solutions. We have a contract with Venture Global to supply bulk materials to their subcontractors, and then various other tasks that they've asked us to perform for them. We've been partners with Venture Global for about the last 4 years. We did their Plaquemines project much the same way. So we've purchased 7.5 acres on Bobby's Lane. That I've actually got 3 things on the agenda this morning. That's one of them, the Broussard Beach Road improvements, and then another item I'd like to talk about. So we've purchased 7.5 acres, and we're in the process of purchasing 37 acres on Bobby's Lane just across as well. And What we'd like to do is, we want to utilize that property to facilitate some of the activities that we're gonna be doing on the Venture Global project. In order to do that, we know that there is concern about having heavy traffic on the highway and trying to reduce that as much as possible. We would like to go in and repair the Broussard Beach Road, and then I think Venture Global actually has the property leased just beyond their property, their battery limits of their project, where we'll tie in and actually get access to the property, so we're not having haul trucks on the highway. And these trucks will be carrying really cement waste that we take and we crush, have a crushing operation, and then return back to them for use. So we recycle product for them.
That's what that road's gonna be, would be repaired with?
So what we would do is come in, repair, the products we're gonna repair it with would be a cement powder and a 610 road mix.
Saw cement type of
Soil
deal?
cement type of
Yeah,
deal,
okay.
We're not gonna try to widen the road, we're just gonna take and put it back to maybe light condition. I'm not sure how it was.
Stabilize it, yeah.
Stabilize it, and then our commitment to the community is that when we're done with it, we would make sure that it's usable for the community when.
So it'll meet parish specs when you're done?
Sir?
It'll meet parish specs for a shell road when you're done?
Yes, sir. So,
Okay.
You have that information?
Your maintenance folks, and we've collaborated on that a little bit on what that may look like.
I do have some questions on that. Is there gonna be any restricted access on that road while you're,
Not from us. We just want the ability to utilize it.
okay, and on your spots where you show parking and stuff, is there any other uses that you're planning on having in that area?
Are you talking about for Bobby's Lane?
Yeah,
Yeah, so for Bobby's Lane, what we'd like to do is come in and improve that, the largest portion of that acreage for parking, but also to store some materials on
but
as well.
just storage, you're not gonna have a cement plant or anything like that there?
Not a cement plant, but we could have a crushing operation there.
Okay.
So we recycle the waste concrete. Every pour has some waste, and we have to manage that waste for Venture Global. So we take that, it hardens up, we take it off-site, we crush it,
Crush.
and then return it back to them.
That crushing process doesn't have any effect as far as anybody surrounding? Is there any surrounding neighborhoods or is there anybody there?
So there are homes that may be a half-mile away. I think to the north, there's some homes on stilts there, I believe. Not sure exactly the distance. And then there are two small campers that are actually on the opposite side of Bobby's Lane, up towards 27.
And on a drainage perspective, if you build that up, say you wanna support and build up 7 acres, y'all have drainage permits and all that's been approved. What about, is there coastal use? You got
There
coastal
absolutely
use?
is, and so we've submitted to the state, and we're working with the parish for the permits required to actually get that done.
Yeah, I understand, I'm Karen Bonzo.
On the permitting, it's item E that he is speaking on, I'm sorry, G, LeBay Camp Ops LLC. I do have a question. In the application, it says that you are constructing a gravel pad for vehicles, equipment parking, and temporary staging of construction material. So you just mentioned that you may be doing a recycling waste concrete? Is that right? So can you include this in your application?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, my question, or what I'd ask for some help with is, we're still working through the purchasing process for the 37 acres, which is just directly opposite of the 7 we bought. That's gonna be much more suitable for our crushing operations. I can absolutely put it here, but we believe that, we're working with the families, and I think everything's gonna go through on that piece. We would actually like to submit it for that 37 acres. We have some time, Venture Gold didn't start their large concrete pours for several more months, so I think we have enough time to work it there. But that operation, I want to be as transparent as possible with everything we're doing here. So crushing operations is part of it. The 7.5 acres was the original plan. Now that we've got the 37, we think it's more suitable for that track.
And on the Broussard Beach Road, I'm sorry, I wasn't able to be part of that meeting. I would advise, as the coastal zone administrator, that you submit an RFD, request for determination, for this type of use to repair the Broussard Beach Road, just to see if a coastal use permit is going to be required or not. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Because I know it has been a long time. I haven't really went out there. I will go probably today to look at the road, but
I love my truck in four-wheel drive.
well then, yeah, okay, you need to, okay. So, yeah, just do an RFD to submit for that type of work for Broussard Beach Road, and then parish specs and all that, that's, yeah.
I think the road deal is gonna be really good. I do have one more question. On this concrete crushing, is there gonna be a dust issue associated with that might affect the local landowner?
So we have dust collectors on this equipment, and usually don't have an issue with it. Now, with all equipment, socks get clogged, but we work really hard to make sure that we minimize or eliminate any dust issue.
Okay.
Which we have the exact same situation on the MOF area at the project, because of the FERC permit, right? It's very strict on the dust emissions, so.
Also, I know Mr. Sam asked, but, so that we'll need to meet our parish standards, and Katie can help you with that. And also, Bobby's Lane will need a bond.
A bond, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna draft a cooperative endeavor agreement for this, and it'll include those things.
All the-
Back to you for approval and signature.
All the details, right?
Yeah, it'll include the details, and I've been writing notes as y'all been speaking, have some good ideas. Yeah, so.
Yeah, one thing, just make sure that in it says that when they leave, when they're done, that road meets specs at that time.
In product, I wrote in product.
And the only other thing I see, on the third page of where this Bobby Lane stuff, can you elaborate a little more on the food truck or whatever?
So, as part of our operation, obviously, we have, about 140 people. We're a service provider, we're not a construction contractor. And so, we service all of VG's, civil contractors.
Can you speak into the mic, please, for me? Yeah.
So we're a service provider for VG, so we service all of their civil contractors. So we work 2 shifts. We're going to be working odd hours. So we purchased a couple of different trailer parks for our folks to pull their RVs on. One of the things I was concerned about coming down here was the ability to actually feed them. I didn't want them having to drive somewhere to try to get food. We're working 6-7 days a week, right? And so what I'd like to do is partner up with a restaurant out of Lake Charles for a private catering service that we would have. It's not access to the public. There's no, it's just to provide basically a breakfast, a sack lunch, and a dinner for our employees.
What would that look like, Ms. Robin? Is that something doable, or that's gonna overstep some of the rules we have?
They would have to get LDH approval, but we don't have anything in our ordinance that states that it can't be for private.
For private use?
Correct.
Basically, they're feeding their own people.
So you're not selling this?
We're not selling it. The public would not have the ability to come in and purchase a plate. This is strictly trying to keep our folks off the highways and focused on their job.
Yeah.
Mr. Stan kind of said that they would have a a card that they would have.
Sure, it's,
That they would have to show for their meals for the day, so no,
Yeah.
no public.
it'll be an electronic based system, they'll have an ID card, and they present that to get their.
One trailer?
Sir?
One trailer?
Uh,
One service trailer, one food trailer?
So it'll be a food trailer, on one of our, in one of our RV parks. And then there'll be an accompanying, basically a smaller trailer, call it a freezer or refrigerator, whatever, right? But yeah, so just one facility.
And the reason I ask that is that you're gonna be competing with local people who provide food services, and we don't really wanna hurt our people in any way. We don't mind trying to help you guys out for convenience purposes, but we at the same time do not wanna cut our people out or have
That
opportunities.
certainly wasn't the intent here. Really, we're just trying to, again, keep our guys from having to travel a long distance for food.
Okay, I guess as long as that states one trailer,
One trailer.
I don't have any problems, guys.
You're not charging these folks for this.
This is something that we're doing internal to On-Site Concrete Solutions. These guys, it's part of their package to work with us. If I can get it done. So this is just an idea I had. If we can make it work out, then it helps everybody out.
That's a big subject here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understand.
So Stan, how many vehicles are we talking about, or how many people? Just a lot of big operation?
So, right now I have about 104 people on site, and we're gonna go up to about 160. Now, some of those folks live in Lake Charles, and some of them live in other places, and they commute. They'll be, actually, we have a couple of subcontracts for the stevedoring and the waterside operations, and they'll be riding the buses from Helms Road with some of the other contractors. And as far as how many folks are we actually in a feed, that's I'm not sure what the answer to that's yet. You know, this is kind of voluntary for our folks if they want to take advantage of it.
Our biggest stance on the jury is just try to get Cameron Parish back. You know, we've been temporary in a long time, and it is an opportunity for our parish as well. So anything we can do to try to help our local business, and we know that a lot of that is strained. We got our own people in food trucks, so you know, if there is an opportunity that we can do something permanent to serve the future, that'd be the ultimate goal. But we understand the challenges.
Yes, sir.
And Stan, I'd like to see, you know, if we get the RFD correct, and all that, I'd like to see all that before we
Yes.
approve anything for sure, because I think we need to have those crossed.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I'm not trying to move it in tomorrow or anything. So, I actually have the restaurant here with me today, and they're excited about that. They're a local Lake Charles vendor. Actually came down to look for a facility because we talked about a lot of different options, right? It's just hard to find something in Cameron, and we all work on a budget, so we're trying to be as economical as possible as well.
I think the dollar store's up for rent, ain't it, Miss Robin?
I heard
Oh, that
somebody
for
say
sale.
that.
Yep.
Thank you, Stan.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're gonna take the green cards. Mr. DuPont?
I'm here today to ask for a variance to put a couple warehouses on VJ Street. I want to invest back in Cameron Parish and Lower Cameron. Started here in Cameron, and I really feel that there's opportunity to put some warehousing back here. I mean, it needs to be on the ground. I understand it can't have office. I understand we have to meet those regulations, but we would like to see about moving in and getting started with construction on a couple warehouses there on that DuPont building piece of property I had down there.
Have you met with our permitting office? Have you met with Robin?
I met with Robin and she said the first thing was the variance, so there's no need in going any further. I have a architect that drew a little plan. I'd like to look somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 square feet.
That's down VJ Street there?
Yeah.
On your property there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Robbie, you see any
I
issue?
think it's something needed in Cameron. I'm willing to invest. I understand, you know, the risk I take. But I grew up here. I'm still here in Cameron. Got 40 employees today in Cameron. And I think it's the way we get Cameron going again. You know, we take little baby steps and get a warehouse going and see if there's any success. This guy just said he was looking for a place to feed his people. I can give him that square footage.
Yeah.
Much rather that than temporary.
So technically, a permit ought to be requested.
Yeah.
So you submit the specification to the permit, they're going to deny your request because it's not gonna be the elevation, is my expectation. And then it comes to the jury to vote on the variance, so they'll know exactly what they're voting on. So,
But to get the permit done, you're talking $7,000 to $10,000 by the time you hire the architect. So all I'm trying to do is get an idea. I will do everything right. I just don't wanna invest $7,000 to $10,000 and throw it down the drain.
my point is, you're not voting on the variance today, but he provides you the background to get, so he'll know whether he needs to go forward or not. But you're not voting on it today, because you don't, it hasn't gone through the process. So I just wanted to make that clear.
I'm guessing that what he's asking for, guys, is before he spends the money and the time and effort to get this done, that how would we feel about it?
Yeah.
Would we be supportive of it? I basically support it, as long as it meets the permitting needs.
Is there some paperwork, Jim Paul, that we can look at to see like when the time comes to see exactly what we're voting on to give a variance on?
Well,
So we can, without you going through that expense of the permit and all with the
Just
permit?
like, kind of like, say something, I guess, just drawn up by hand, you know, just.
He
Nothing's-
does have some documents that he submitted, and I can provide that to y'all. The elevation there is 13-foot requirement plus the 1-foot freeboard. His estimated ground is about 3.8, so he would be asking for a variance of probably 10.2, and then we would require him to install the flow-through vents as well. But I do have the paperwork that he has submitted, and I can get that to you.
And currently it would just be more square footage than what we would normally allow. How does this affect FEMA?
I would have to say I've done, again, a lot of research on this, and I hope in the near future, Ms. Robin, I could meet with y'all and we can hash out a lot of stuff on this variance stuff. But I think at the end of the day, it's done consistent with the jury before us to help out local businesses to come back and give variances. And I don't see why we would build a stone wall up if we're consistent.
And I know we have done some in the past for CP1, for the Kiewit. I know we did do a variance, and I actually pulled that file as well.
Yep.
If
So-
it'd be my personal take, I'd like to go to Donald J. Trump and ask for a variance for the whole parish is what I'd like to ask.
I think,
support you on that.
I'm ready to get all this red tape out of our way, to be honest with
So
you.
there would be no offices,
No
no,
offices, no restrooms.
No, that would
It's
have to
strictly
be
a
a
warehouse.
portable process.
So,
you okay with that, Mr. Jim Paul?
Yeah.
So, Mr. M, it's just gonna be basically a storage facility, kinda, so to speak.
Warehouse facility for forklifts to come in and out, no different than they have on the dock.
okay.
I'm assuming it would have to have restrooms and stuff too, correct?
No, sir, I just said that would be in an office trailer, they would have to provide themselves an office trailer.
Okay, so they would
Or
have,
we would build some kind of rental trailer that would have, be a licensed trailer to move off the facility in a storm accident.
I would probably presume it's gonna be 400 square foot or less.
Correct.
They can be on the ground.
Correct.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an idea, cause, I like looking into them variances and stuff, to try to find some ways to get it going.
Well, we have to do something to help Lower Cameron, or there's never gonna be nothing.
Right.
Absolutely.
We don't invest, there ain't gonna never be nothing.
I think if we put absolute no on all the variances, we're stifling business.
Yep.
We're stifling production. we're stifling Cameron moving forward.
I generally don't like no for an answer, and you can't do it that way. I like to find other ways and go into a lot of discussion. So I look forward to hopefully helping you and Mrs. Sunday get this done.
All right, we'll be back with the package in a few months.
All right, good luck.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you looking into an investment.
Ms. Kill?
Good morning, gentlemen. There have been several questions and discussions floating around concerning the Cameron Parish Ports bid process for their proposed parking lot and heavy haul lots at 192 Marshall Street. I'm here today to clear up any concerns or answer any remaining questions surrounding the process. The Port Board hired K&M Project Services for the project management and engineering services on this project in order to make sure we complied with public bid laws. Advertisements ran May 22nd, 29th, June 5th, and June 12th, 2025 in the Cameron Pilot. A pre-bid conference was held at 10 a.m. on June 4th, 2025 at the project site, at which time several contractors discussed project design and cost. Due to concerns arising from that meeting about excessively high project cost, I had a discussion with Mitch at K&M about further value engineering to make sure the project was more cost effective. On June 6th, addendum number 1 was issued reflecting bid date deadline change from June 13th to June 20th. During discussions on proposed changes, I spoke with Cameron Parish Police Jury staff about purchasing limestone through their parish contract. The port removed the limestone from the bid package because it would save a substantial amount of public money by purchasing through the current police jury contract. Pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 382212.1 and Louisiana Revised Statute 331321 through 1337, a political subdivision may acquire materials and supplies under an existing contract with another public entity. Louisiana's public bid law allows political subdivisions to piggyback onto a contract competitively bid by another political subdivision. The written consent of the political subdivision having the existing contract must be obtained, and the vendor must also agree to the provisions of the additional materials to the acquiring political subdivision. On June 12th, addendum number 2 was issued reflecting the value engineering and removing limestone from the bid sheet. By removing the limestone from the bid sheet and the port purchasing from the current police jury contract, there would be a minimum savings of the standard 20% markup by the contractor, along with the increase in limestone cost and possibly increase in delivery cost. I reached out for quotes on limestone and received back over $168,000 with the contract markup included. The other quote received was not apples to apples because there was no delivery cost included, but would have been significantly higher when the cost, along with the 20% minimum contract or standard contractor markup, was added. As director of the port, I felt this was a direct savings of Cameron Parish public funds, and this was the basis for the port's decision to remove the limestone from the bid package. By piggybacking on the parish's contract for limestone, the port will save the parish over $168,000 and will create infrastructure that will bring in ad valorem and inventory tax dollars to the parish. At the end of the day, public bid law was established to protect the taxpayer, to make sure the public is getting the best deal for its dollar. In this case, the materials supplier submitted a bid to the parish to provide materials at various locations through the parish for a certain price, and the parish accepted it as lowest bid. The port is authorized to piggyback on that existing contract, provided the parish and provider agree. While there could be additional cost to the provider to deliver to the port's yard as opposed to dumping the materials on the highway, the supplier has agreed to provide the materials to the port for the same price listed on the bid sheet. So at worst, we have a supplier providing materials to the port for less than he or she might be otherwise owed. If the port were to bid out this project, the cost would be far more than under the existing contract. Far from harming the public, this is a great benefit to the public, which is in keeping with the purpose of the public bid law. I just came here today to lay out the facts and ask if I had answered all the questions and if there were anything left remaining that needs to be answered.
First question I have, Ms. Kim, which I was addressed by a contractor on this issue. And I made 2 phone calls, one of which to hand off to our administrator, and I was told that my opinion didn't matter, and the only opinion that mattered was our legal counsel. So that's why I had a little bit more concern, and I spoke with Mr. Howard, and Mr. Howard went into great lengths to explain what was going on, so I appreciate that phone call, Mr. Howard. My first question would be, when did y'all accept the public bids?
We accepted the public bids on the 24th of June, contingent upon getting writing from the police jury and from the vendor that we could do that.
Okay, because I know looking into it, my biggest thing with public bid laws, I kind of got fed to the wolves on them on numerous occasions because I don't know what the public bid law is. And in my opinion, on a lot of different scenarios, we just met, me and Michael just ate lunch with a contractor a while back, and he was saying we couldn't use materials and stuff. So, you know, we're being told a lot of different things, but I had the liberty and the time to educate myself on the bid law. You have to do all them things and contingent upon, so we'll get all that done. It does save the parish money. My question would be, why wouldn't we have dirt contract, rock contract, contracts with everybody for materials? Because Ms. Kim's right, this is a big savings to the parish once you read it and educate yourself on the matter. Because we're about to do a bridge with a lot of dirt. I mean, all that could be like she said, it gets marked up when you stick it into the bids. So that was my biggest concern and issue, and I surely don't want to go where we was. And the first thing was my concern was reading the contract that the police jury has for Roy Bailey. Who made this contract for the police jury? Because it's the police jury paperwork from the looks of it.
That's done through the Road and Bridge Department. So
Do we have any insight if this is a maintenance contract or new construction contract? Because my only concern of doing it, you have to go off the contract. And I have I got to look at it both ways. One, we need to save the people of the parish money. But also, like we was just talking about, we're here for the local businesses, correct? Per the contract I'm reading, and I'm not no legal guy or anything, but it specifically says certain things. So I'd like somebody to clarify in our office what's the interpretation of it. Because it specifically says where it's hauled, specifically say on what roads it's dumped. So, and I have to educate myself. I mean, if we're going to utilize the contract, it should be utilized because there's 2 things here. We're getting a good deal, and I'm sure Roy Bailey's more than grateful to give us the rock at the price on the contract because I had the pleasure for working for the man. He's very good to the public and the people of Cameron Parish. But if we're holding him to a contract that it don't specifically say he can haul to this place, in my opinion, he could charge what the going rate is for rock, which in my opinion, would probably be way higher than what y'all would be getting charged per this contract. So
He could, and I have received a letter from him stating that he will honor this bid contract price delivered to the port property.
And such is an amendment to the contract. Every once in a while, the government does something that has good common sense, such as the piggyback law under the public bid law. I've used it once, probably more than once, the sheriff's office on tasers, maybe AEDs, I don't remember. But whenever he sent you that letter that he would honor that contract, that's a big deal. That's a great favor, and that's an amendment to the contract. So it doesn't have to have specific roads. When he said he would deliver that rock to that location at this price, that's a okay on his part, and he's just waiting for a okay on our part for piggybacking purposes, and he's got the okay from the port board on the price. So it's just right. It's just hinging an agreement for the police jury to accept the piggyback
Yeah, I just need, written consent from the police jury and written consent from the
Right.
vendor. I have written consent from the vendor.
Because the price and the location and the delivery is already consented. Okay.
Well, per the public bid law, you gotta publicly bid it out, and the way we bid it out, from my understanding, is certain places and certain roads, we didn't bid out for new constructions at this site. So if that's part of the public bid law to do a amendment and get that, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with that if it's legal to do, you know, that's all I'm
Yes.
saying.
I just have one question.
Speaking,
I just want one question. Mr. Tom?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Speaking of legal, can we get our legal counsel to comment, please?
That would be my.
Yes, sir. Illegal?
No problems.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Gill. And,
Any other questions?
Ms. Kim, how long are these contracts? They're like 5 years long, aren't they?
It's a year-long contract. It's January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025.
No, they're yearly, and I would like to see them maybe be less vague or go into more detail about being able to use it in the future for stuff like this.
If Mr. Daigle does have a point, that we, you know, we could be, I mean, this, traditionally, we haven't had this issue come up, and the quote contract with the supplier, who happens to be Roy Bailey, could be more specific. Legal has never been involved, it's just submitted, contractor sends back like a request for proposal, and they fill in the blank, and that becomes a contract, like a purchase order. And we usually don't get involved in that. But to the extent that y'all think there needs to be more particulars, we can make it more particular. I always say, don't overcorrect. You know, this is one in a, you know, we've never had this issue before. It's unusual. Maybe we'll have it again because we have a lot more going on, so we can do that. But again, you know, we don't have to overcorrect something that's a once in a lifetime issue.
Right.
But that's y'all decide that, and if you want us to be more particular, we can be, to address. But again, even if we address this, something else may come up. Not every contract can anticipate every variable, and so you have to read between the lines sometime, implication as opposed to express intent, and that's what we did in this case, so.
Mr. Tom, is there a possibility in the future, I mean, there's gonna be a lot of expansion, a lot of growth, is there a possibility to have multiple contracts within the parish?
Yeah, so.
Great, like dirt, sand, that sort of thing.
It could, but one of the issues, and again, I'm not an engineer, I don't know even what your department people know, but some contracts I know call for a certain quality of dirt or clay or field. So, just for fill dirt, and there's no quality, so to speak, then maybe so, but, or even multiple styles or quality of things. It's just to say so the bridge issue came up about when you have dirt. I don't know what the engineer or contractor would require, and so if we had a contract just for fill dirt, they may say, well, no, that's not gonna work, we need some other type of quality, you know, because I've had friends that supplied the dirt for the Lacassine Bridge. And DOTD wanted a certain quality of clay, sand, or whatever, and they were able to provide it. So they got the contract to provide that dirt. So it depends.
Specifications.
Need a motion?
You know, but some of this might be on, you know, demand, they might be busy with a project and demand something.
It can be, but I'm just saying it may not, again, address all of the concerns of being able to provide dirt for every project because this different specifications.
And of course, I would like to see it, because I know it might have created a little headache for this job, so to speak, but in hindsight 2020, this could be very, very beneficial for the parish. So I'd like to see regular dirt or clay, but on certain jobs, you know, you wouldn't have to piggyback off of it. If they were requiring a certain type of clay, they would bid, you know, that clay out in the thing, so.
So Ms. Kim, you did say that you did receive from the vendor a
Yes, sir.
document saying
I have.
it's okay?
Have.
And I just wanna say thank you to the port board. I mean, I think that was great trying to save the money and, I think it's a lesson learned for all of us. I think we can get a little creative moving forward to save the whole parish some money.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Hey, Ms. Gill, look, I'm assuming we'll have a copy of this documentation for the parish.
The letter? Yes, I do have it already. We did pass it through to our auditors for confirmation that he accepted it. He did respond in writing. So this really is an informal process, guys. It's just an email saying we have no objections.
Fine. All right, next, Mr. John.
All right, so on your agenda, your voting meeting today is to accept the release agreement with Roy Bailey. So Police Jury and Roy Bailey executing a contract to resolve the Grand Lake Road, the Grand Lake Barn Road issue. So we have the releases and we've received the checks. When we met on June 11th, you all had asked me to address the public on a few issues, and I have a few comments. So at that time, I'd like to do so. Just take a few minutes. So first, the police jury would like for me to clarify a comment made by Mr. Roach, who was counsel for Shane Manuel regarding executive sessions. Mr. Manuel requested a public hearing to address his personnel evaluation. The police jury and Mr. Manuel agreed to meet in executive session before we started the public hearing. Before entering executive session, I acknowledged on the record that Mr. Manuel was reserving his right to a public hearing, for which both parties were prepared. At no time did the police jury deny Mr. Manuel his right to a public hearing. Okay. Now I want to address a few things regarding executive sessions. Executive sessions are legal and can be found in revised statute 42:17. The legislature recognizes the importance and necessity of executive sessions in this statute. On June 2nd, the police jury used executive session to discuss sensitive matters regarding litigation about a bona fide contract dispute and personnel matters. On June the 2nd, the attorney for Roy Bailey Construction addressed the jurors, and Mr. Manuel and his attorney were able to have dialogue with the jurors in executive session. The executive sessions were productive in reaching a compromise and settlement. Our courts have recognized that compromises and settlements are a preferred and favored means of resolving disputes. So there was nothing wrong, illegal, or unethical about the executive sessions on June the 2nd. It was appropriately used in accordance with the law. Let's talk about the settlements for a minute. This settlement was in the best interest of the parish for many reasons, some of which include the following. The police jury has been paid for the disputed invoices and not waiting after years of litigation to be reimbursed. I just handed the releases and the contract to Mary for y'all to approve and sign at your voting meeting. Second, there's no further litigation. The police jury was facing multiple lawsuits, one against Roy Bailey Construction for the contract dispute, another with Mr. Manuel if he was terminated. His lawyer had threatened litigation. Lawsuits take years to resolve and significant time, money, and resources. The police jury has avoided all that. Third, resolution sooner than later is always a good thing. It allows us to focus on better, more productive matters. So what happened? In June 2024, the police jury contracted with Roy Bailey Construction to improve and elevate an existing gravel road known as the Grand Lake Barn Road in Grand Lake. Roy Bailey subcontracted with Danny Myers for the dirt work. Shane Manuel was the road and bridge superintendent and responsible for the project. The road was completed by the end of July of 2024. The police jury was satisfied with the elevation of the road and had no dispute with the end product, and thus paid Roy Bailey's invoices. In September of 2024, Bubby Duhan made a public records request regarding this project and subsequently informed the police jury staff that the police jury may have been overcharged for dirt. The police jury hired an engineer to evaluate the road improvements and compare the invoices to the engineer's estimates of the dirt used to elevate the road. That report was received at the beginning of December of 2024. At the next available meeting of the police jury, which was January 6th, 2025, the police jury was informed of the situation, and Roy Bailey was provided a copy of the engineer's report and asked to provide an explanation. By April of 2025, Roy Bailey Construction provided its own engineer's report that accounted for most all of the invoiced dirt. Between January and May of this year, the police jury, through my office, investigated this case. The investigation included interviews conducted by law enforcement, interviews conducted by me, review of all relevant documents, and conversations with our engineer, among other things. Everyone involved voluntarily gave statements, agreed to meet with me to discuss the matter, and did not withhold any document that was requested. Nothing has been hidden from the public or swept under the rug. The police jury and I have done our best to do our due diligence on behalf of the public to investigate this matter. In executive sessions, I was able to provide the jurors with my thoughts, legal analysis, and mental impressions. That's the purpose of executive session. I was able to explain the strengths and weaknesses of our positions regarding the discipline of Shane Manuel, the dispute with Roy Bailey Construction, and the involvement of Danny Myers in this project. Based upon my counsel and advice, the police jury settled accordingly. Now, regarding Danny Myers as a subcontractor on the Grand Lake Barn Road project, this was not illegal or unethical. The rules of ethics under revised statute 42:1113 provides an exception to jurors with a population of less than 10,000, which is Cameron Parish. This exception allows a Cameron juror to contract with the Cameron Police Jury. Although Mr. Myers' participation was legal and ethical, it led to some practical conflicts. Shane Manuel was the department head over the Road and Bridge Department and responsible for this project. Mistakes were made by Mr. Manuel in handling the project, which contributed to uncertainties at the completion of this job. As a result, he accepted a demotion as stated on June 2nd and has since resigned. Regarding the criminal complaint, the second thing the police jury would like to clarify regarding the vote to accept the resignation of Danny Myers and the demotion of Shane Manuel. So what the police jury wanted the public to know that there was some confusion or misunderstanding among some of the jurors about the status of the criminal complaint, whether it would go forward or end with the settlement. But regardless of that misunderstanding of some, the vote would have been the same and the outcome would not have changed. I would like to add, there was absolutely no direct evidence of any criminal activity or conspiracy. It is important to note, for legal analysis, the police jury contracted with Roy Bailey Construction. Our contract was not with Danny Myers. The grand jury convened, considered the evidence, and filed a report taking no action on this matter. When this matter was first brought to our attention, the sheriff and I agreed that under these circumstances, a criminal investigation should be initiated. Not every criminal investigation results in a criminal complaint or prosecution. The sheriff's office did an excellent job in providing me with the foundation which I used to develop the facts of this case. In late January of 2025, the investigation was forwarded to state police. Over time, it became clear to me that this matter would not conclude in any criminal charges. Thus, my recommendation and advice to the police jury was to settle this matter regarding, rather than engage in prolonged civil litigation and fruitless criminal investigations. The public demanded accountability, and the public should expect it. And in my opinion, the police jury delivered. The results of the settlement from June 2nd were very consequential to the three parties involved. First, despite disagreeing with the parish's position, the contractor, who also thought and saw it better to settle rather than to litigate potentially for years, has paid the $74,500 for the disputed invoices, which was 100% of the disputed amount. Even though there were serious factual questions as whether we were even entitled to that full amount based on some assumptions of our engineer, regardless, Roy Bailey Construction agreed to pay that full amount. Also, a police juror resigned, and the department head was demoted and took a significant cut in pay and has since resigned. I think the police jury delivered on their obligation to the public. As the district attorney, I've always promised to evaluate each and every case in an objective, rational, and impartial manner, to be just and fair. That is exactly how I approach this case. You surely do not want a district attorney who decides who to prosecute or who not to prosecute based upon Facebook or political gain. Some in the public are upset or disappointed about what happened in the settlement. But I'm not exactly sure I understand what they're upset about. What the public should be asking is, what did the police jury give up in exchange for getting all of the money back, getting the resignation of a juror, and the resignation of the department head? And the answer is nothing. Some of these police jurors were not even convinced that Shane Manuel should be terminated. I know that from our discussions in executive session over a heated debate on the different jurors' position on that issue. If the evidence was not compelling enough to terminate the employee in charge of this project, how could one expect to obtain a criminal indictment or conviction? So the point is that the withdrawal of the criminal complaint was not much to give up in exchange for the results we had obtained. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Dial, may I ask you a couple questions on what you spoke about, please, sir, if you wouldn't mind?
You can ask, I don't know if I'll answer them.
That's fine. When did you go to the grand jury? Can you
answer that.
Okay.
Inappropriate.
That's right. So back in May, you told the people of the parish on public record that you was recusing yourself if and when any criminal charges or anything criminal come about due to a conflict.
And you want me to explain that?
I think the people would like it to.
So, at the time that I announced that, there was the potential of both a criminal and a civil proceeding. And I think I made that clear when I discussed that, but I'll say it again. And it's not appropriate, and there's potential conflict, legal conflict, for an attorney to do both of those. Because in the civil proceeding, the civil defendant or that party could assert that the prosecutor in the criminal matter is using the criminal case to gain an advantage in the civil case. Because in the civil case, we can't threaten someone with jail time. In a criminal case, the potential is jail. So that's why I made that comment. So that's the conflict, that's the reason. But once Roy Bailey settled and paid $74,000, the civil dispute went away. So it's in that envelope right there. I think I said that a while ago. It's right there, it's paid, it's done. When they made the offer on June 2nd and you accepted on June 2nd, the civil case was over. So Roy Bailey would not be in a position to say that I was threatening that company or that owner with criminal prosecution in exchange for money. So that ended that. The other thing, the criminal case, so to speak, there never was a criminal case. There was an investigation. Had that case evolved into something more, then I would have had to make the choice of sending it to somewhere else, which would probably have been Calcasieu. I had communicated with Mr. Dwight about that, and he agreed that he would take it in the event that anything developed. But nothing developed, nothing went anywhere, so I never had to transfer that, and it technically was never transferred. So it still laid within my jurisdiction to make the decision, and I will tell you that subsequent to your settlement is when we we convened the grand jury. That's most I can tell you about that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
All right.
All right, RV park enforcement discussion.
Okay, so we're just gonna try to keep this as brief and simple as possible, but in your ordinance, and I do have it on the screens, it defines a recreational vehicle park. And if you look at the very last sentence, it says that it's supposed to be owner occupied. The issue with this specific ordinance is that it lacks an enforcement component, which means we can say all day long that you have to have it owner occupied RV to have it in the parish, but we don't actually have any type of enforcement action in case the person is doing it illegally. We've had a few complaints across the parish of people purchasing RVs and then renting them out to the workforce. So technically those aren't owner occupied, so they're out of compliance, and we as a staff don't have anywhere to go. We don't have an avenue to prosecute or to do any sort of enforcement action to tell them that they're out of compliance and they have to remove the RV. So the staff has brought this to you today for consideration. Do you like having the owner occupied in your ordinance? And if so, then we need to create an ordinance for enforcement action. Or are you okay, I mean, this was adopted under a different set of jury. Are you okay with people purchasing RVs and renting them out? If that is the case, then you just remove the owner occupied. But either way, the staff needs some direction because there's too much gray area right now.
Right, I've sure the other Germans got a call about it, and I've talked to Mark about it, and Michael. And from the perspective of the citizens who's renting out RVs or wants to rent out their own RVs, one of them's told me they're coming in, and there's more every day. I don't know if that's true or not, but it could be. But they would like to rent out their RVs, and they want to have it to where there's a cap on it. Now, I'd have to ask Tom if you could limit the size of a business. And the perspective he said on that was, I can haul out all my RVs for the hurricane evacuation. I can haul them all out in one day. And so I think that the past police jury has put that ordinance in there so it would not compete with the locals, so big megas wouldn't come in. So it's a very, very a situation where where's the right at? And I don't think we should stifle a business by telling someone they can't. I don't like the ordinance about you can't buy a RV and rent it out. Personally, I don't like that. That's my opinion. But do we put a cap on that, or do we let business be business? Can we tell somebody there's just so much business that you can do?
Hold on, while Tom's preparing his response, I just want you guys to be aware that we are not voting on this today.
Okay.
This is just discussion for you to advise Tom on what you would like to see in an ordinance change that will be voted on at the next meeting.
Okay.
Keep that in mind as you're giving him, or as y'all have an open dialogue.
So, the staff and I don't know, a few weeks ago, I was in here doing a meeting about something, and it came up, and we had a very brief discussion. I said, well, it's a policy decision that you all need to make as to how wide or narrow you want that gate to be, so to speak. So Mr. Johnson, it's a matter of, currently, if you have an RV in an RV park, you have to be the RV owner. So that's the rule. And y'all can take the rule out, and it doesn't matter, or you can go anywhere in between. Again, and I think historically, the reason for that, and I'm somewhat guessing here, because I don't recall the specifics, and I'm not even sure I was around when the decision was made for this current rule that you have to be the owner of the RV. It had to do with evacuation. And we've had these discussions through the years that we wanted the RV owner to evacuate, under conditions of evacuation, take their RV out of the parish, because that minimizes the potential damage to other properties. And we've talked about, we've never had an enforcement mechanism even to make people take the RV out under those circumstances. So again, whatever y'all think is appropriate. Now, what might be helpful is for you all to have a committee of 3 to meet, you know, that have, and it seems like these RV parks are south and on the west side. I don't know that we have many of them in Grant Lake, maybe a few, but for those drawers to be on a committee that we can meet with the staff, and again, develop a policy, because it's really just a policy decision, which is y'all's.
Sonny
And then we'll draft it in law.
Michael and Mark would be those three.
I would like to see, I know since a couple of weeks ago, I've been trying to have a town hall meeting or a greeting meeting. And I also promised a lot of the RV park owners that I was gonna have this meeting to get a better idea of what they would need, what would benefit them, because at the end of the day, they're part of the parish. So I would hope that the jury would consider us having a meeting like this to get a little more insight, not just what we think is right, but also hear a little feedback. Of course, everybody's gonna have a different opinion, but we can all put those opinions in one box and try to mold one.
I can't speak for you.
Any of them here today?
I'd be glad to meet, you know, scheduling wise, you know, permitting my schedule, I'd meet with whoever and wherever.
So I guess my question is can you show us an example of an enforcement on any ordinance, like how that's worded? Like you said, you don't have direction on this, but where do we have direction?
When they're not meeting elevation, it goes through the court process.
Yeah, again, it depends on how.
So,
It depends on what you want the enforcement to look like. It can be anywhere from, we send a letter, and you know, to ask them to please comply, or we'll you know, have the possibility to set up a hearing with the police jury, kind of like a condemnation, where we send notice and you come to the police jury and explain why you're in violation. If you can't give a good enough reason, we'll revoke your RV park permit. You could make it, hey, we'll take you to court and have the court impose fines, penalties, and whatnot. I mean, so there's different layers of how far, and it could be all of the above. Y'all could, you know, first start with an administrative hearing before you, for them to explain what's going on, and you decide if you think, you know, they're in violation, you hold them in violation, then ask me to go file a suit and have the judge revoke their permit. Again, it's whatever, how far you want to go with.
What does FEMA require of us? Because most of these ordinance we make are based off of FEMA. You know, we're not wanting to have a lot of these in place. What does FEMA?
I mean, I don't know that they would have, whether it's owned or occupied.
You know, because every time we turn around, I hear, if we don't do this, FEMA's gonna do this. If we don't do this.
We could use that model. So FEMA is not the one that is deciding whether RVs have to be owned or not by the park. So that's y'all's decision, or the jury's decision. But if you wanted to enforce it, it could be an enforcement mechanism similar to what we do on the elevation, which is we send a letter you're in violation, here's why you're in violation, fix it. If it's not fixed to her, or the department's satisfaction, they send me all the information, the letter, the photos, whatnot, and I file a petition to enforce our ordinance. And then there's penalties, so we can do it that way, and it never even comes to you. Now, she would probably let you know that, hey, there's an RV park in your district, or your district is about to go to the DA's office for, you know, a civil proceeding with the court, but it would really not come before y'all. It's just an enforcement.
So,
And you do have in your packets, when this came about, I believe last meeting, I did send out to those park owners that we knew they were being rented, and you saw what we received. I mean, I didn't get any response
yeah.
from anyone.
One gentleman that called me over the issue is the RV park owner in Cameron. He stated that FEMA says a RV park can't be no more than 50 spots. Is that our parish for the west sides? Because I wanted to see what FEMA said. They don't stipulate that.
Are you out there reviewing?
Yeah, I have to look and see, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because I know on the west side it's in there, but I don't know if that's something that,
Yeah,
reason they
just
have.
if you decide that y'all are gonna keep the ordinance with enforcement, we would have to have copies of the title of registrations for those RVs that are if y'all decide to do away with it. My office, I don't think, can keep track of all of that.
Yeah.
How many
That's-
RVs we have, that's,
And excuse me for getting on the soapbox, but I'm gonna have to get on the soapbox again because that's what we run into. We're enforcing FEMA's rules, whether it's food trucks, whether it's campers. All of this is after effects of the whole elevation thing.
right.
I mean,
Well,
people don't want food trucks, people want restaurants, people don't want RVs, they'd like to build a hotel, motel, whatever, but if you turn it into a skyscraper, it triples the cost of it. I mean, so that's where, we talk about coming to the jury and the jury making these decisions, that's what I'm really trying to drill into, and staff knows this all too well. FEMA, when we had a call with them recently, they made it sound like we were sitting at the foot of the Hoover Dam and we're gonna flood immediately. I mean, we have to go to our federal people and explain we're not in that situation. And we have to, the continual insanity of losing our people, everybody moving north, and then, whether the population continues to decrease, puts us in a financial struggle. It's killing Cameron Parish, and it just continues to be a problem. So, yeah, we can keep whacking at each of these ordinances time and time again, but, I'd like to ask Mr. Tom and our staff to really try to go to the root of the problem here and wake up the federal government. I mean, that's what I would like to see.
I agree with you 1,000% on that. FEMA drives a lot of our limitations on housing. With respect to this particular issue that's been raised about enforcing, so RV parks, ownership of RVs within an RV park, that's not a FEMA driven. It's a result of FEMA not letting us build on, but the ordinance itself is our ordinance. We can do whatever we want with that ordinance with respect to that RV park and owner, driven or the RV or the RV park owner or whatever. So that's, y'all give us some direction. Do you wanna leave it as it is? Do you wanna make it wide open or something in between? If it's an RV park of less than 4, then the property owner can have RV park, they can own the RVs and lease them out. If it's more than 4, more than 8, more than 10, or not at all, that's what we need to know from you all, and then we can use the enforcement mechanism that we use with FEMA. Is just if they violate it, we send them notice. If they continue to violate it, we take them to court and have the judge impose an injunction so they can't use the facility.
I like that.
because I believe some of them are doing rent to own also.
And I understand that, Mr. Tom, but it's just like the fella sitting out there talking about a food truck to feed his people. He don't really wanna be in the food business. I mean, he does not. He's forced to do that. So I guess my question is the variance something, we're not experts on the variance, and I don't even think FEMA is, because what I've talked to them, I don't think they're experts either. Is this variance a tool that we can use in local government to get us back on our feet? I mean, can we try to, I mean, they talk about you can't write variances, but, I mean, I go back to history, and I've said this to the staff, and I'm gonna say it on the mic today. You take Hurricane Audrey come in and just killed this whole parish, and then, you know, by 1970, it was back on its feet. Why was it back on its feet? It was back on its feet because people had freedom. People could build back a business that was justifiable. They didn't have to go in debt. And we've proven, because we've gotten slammed so many times, that elevation is not the answer. The higher you go, the more wind damage you have. I mean, any engineer can tell you that. So, I mean, I think it's time for a revolution here, that we got to stand up and try to talk. And I think we got to support. Hell, our President of the United States is talking about eliminating FEMA because it's not functional. So all I ask from the staff and from our legal counsel is help us get that message up there. I've worked with the senators, I've worked with congressmen, and they all know me by my name. But we gotta try to go for the big thing here. And I know that's not solving today's problem, but that's what I ask.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna just interrupt here a second. We've been dancing with FEMA since Rita, okay? And some of the things we did because we had to do, okay? They didn't want RVs. They didn't even want RVs in this parish. We fought to get RVs. We had to sell our soul to get RVs. FEMA's changed somewhat. But this ordinance, like he says, about not renting them out, that's our ordinance.
Yeah.
We can change that.
Change that, yeah.
Just the written part, and I agree with Sonny. I don't think we should add anything to FEMA stipulations, but if we do have to add it, I think we would add something that would help and benefit the residents and the people and the businesses of Cameron Parish.
Yeah. I would, before we make a change and allow it to be across the board, just rent them out, that we understand what the RV owners want.
We need to look
RV
into it
parks
more.
want, so we're looking into a little bit more.
What I would like to
bring the subject up so that you can discuss it with your people and have some, you know.
Do y'all know if these particular ones currently hold a occupational license and are paying their tourist commission tax?
I'm sure not.
You know,
So that's the first step they need to do. Whoever it is needs to get their occupational license, and they need to ensure they're paying their taxes.
Well, my biggest.
Otherwise, they're not a business.
Now, their occupational license, we do require a copy of that with the permit. But as far as their 2%, no, I wouldn't know that.
And my biggest thing, I want to revisit what I asked of the staff quite some time ago about what is our duties and where do we draw the line between enforcing other entities' rules and regulations. Kind of like we got the Tourist Commission in here. We're gonna enforce their stuff, and we want 2% of whatever funds they get. What is FEMA paying us to enforce their rules and regulations? I mean, what do we get out of it other than when a storm comes, we get a grant? But I mean, they do that all over the parish. I just recently went on vacation in Texas. You can go to Pecan Island. All these places got buildings on the ground. What are they doing that we don't know about? Like, you know, that's my biggest thing. That's why I run was on permit. And I still never got back what can permit and do, or what can we enforce, or what we should enforce. The answer I got was we don't really know. We always thought this. Somewhere we got to have something written down like, hey, this is our job duties. Anything beyond this ain't part of our duties. Anything less than that, we need to pick it up. I mean, I would
You're
really.
Mark, you're probably talking about the manufactured homes.
Well, no, I'm
Foundation.
talking just in general for everything.
I just ask that it be across the board. You know, we can't, I know I spoke to Michael about this and to you, Mark. Some of our ordinances are all over the place, and we don't know if it's good in Holly Beach or if it's good in Creole. You know what kind of challenges we
Absolutely.
have to try to look at our ordinance.
And my
see what we
thing,
can and
I
can't
think
do.
our staff should be working with the people and the businesses and people that owns property here to help them mold their permit per the rules and regulations to help them and get them here.
And
I don't think y'all should be bogged down in, let's go stop this person from renting, let's go make sure these people are elevated. To me, if they come and get a permit and you got the documents, kind of like the flood events we went on, they got to sign a petition or whatever you want to call it, a document stating that they're going to put flood vents when they build their barns.
Right.
I don't think we should be utilizing our staff running to make sure they do that. If they didn't do that, they broke the policies and the document they signed. And when FEMA catches them, by all means, we done our part.
Right.
I just more curious of what does that look like for our staff? Because at the end of the day, Ms. Robin, I think you and your department is probably the most busy
Oh, yeah.
throughout the whole
Absolutely.
administration.
Absolutely.
And only unfortunate, Ms. Robin, you talk about a one size fits all. You know, even this scenario here is tough for me because I got a hotel sitting in Hackberry that's 50% occupied. And this is a guy who pays, I mean, they pay property tax, they put an investment down here. Why should they compete with an RV park when the investment or the tax base is not there? You know, so it's just, I don't know if we could look at this as a parish-wide. It'd almost have to be another district by district, kind of like the food trucks. You know, that's just my take on it. I think we'd almost have to look district by district.
We also have to admit that elevation does work. I'm not saying it's, yeah, you have to employ the wind, straps and everything, but we've seen in Mark's district and in, Sonny's district, the houses on pylons is still here after the storms, and the lessons we learned from Rita. I'm not saying it's the complete answer, but we do know, and we do have to keep in mind as a parish government that elevation does work, because we've seen evidence of that. That doesn't prevent the wind damage, I know, but we can do what we can to strap it down. My contractor told me that Cameron Parish was the hardest, most expensive place to build because of the wind requirements. Where I'm at, it was 130. Well, that's a good thing in a way because it helps us preserve our houses. I just wanted to add that we know these rules are for protection.
And we have talked about, I know with Tom, even having the RV park owner maybe sign something as well, you know, having them.
Yeah, that's in the enforcement side. If we decide that the RV has to be owned by the RV owner, not the RV park owner, and you keep it the way it is, then we would require the RV park owner to every time someone comes in, leases long-term, they've got to provide us the registration to that RV, or title or something showing who owns it. So again, we can.
So, Mr. President, I'd suggest, like it was suggested earlier, that a committee be formed, and I would almost be prone to suggest the 3 jury members that was in those areas of the RV parks with the LNGs be on that to look at that. I'd help whichever way I could. That's not my area. I'd be glad to help, but I think a committee where there's 3, it's not a quorum, of course, to work with the permitting board and get with the people of the meetings that has RV parks or potential RV parks, and I'd be glad to attend that also.
I agree with that, Mr. Ron, and I think it needs a lot more discussion.
That just helps us.
But we need to make sure they all are in compliance.
I think before we get bogged down with staff or anything, we need to hear from you know, the RV park owners and the residents, because when we go to the staff, we want to bring them something pretty set in stone. You know, we don't want to bog them down with something and 2 weeks later we change it, or so to speak.
Well, I think just the very first question, very simple question that needs to be answered is, do you want them occupied or not? Yes or no? Like, I think, you know, until we
Need more discussion.
Yeah, so are y'all gonna be prepared for, you know, next meeting, voting yes or no on the advertising, the ordinance change?
Biggest thing, I would like to set a meeting up like I've been wanting to do for the last couple of weeks. I know everybody's been busy and holidays, but I see a couple familiar faces and the audience keeps picking their hands up, and I pretty much promised them I was gonna hear them out regardless if I gotta go to their houses one by one. That's what I hope to do in the near future, and I would hope the fellas on this jury with me would support that, because before we say anything, I think we need to listen to the people.
Yeah, if there's anybody here that wants to comment on it, you're
I think
welcome.
that's where the
Mr. Giz?
we all can.
And Mark, or Mr. Ronald, that ordinance was put in place in October of 2018. We're just now starting to see the issues on it.
Yeah.
So when they form a committee, y'all can get with these folks, like Mr. Giz, and talk about it and see what kind of
I know
ideas.
Katie needed an answer today. I think that it's not, we're not enforcing it
I
right
think
now.
just leave it now, cause we, by the sounds of it, if they're doing it, we can't enforce it anyway. And then we'll see what we can mold it to, I mean, I know they got people with complaints. I think Mr. Giz, you know, he was a little upset because we told him he couldn't buy a bunch of stuff and do things, but
That's
we're
what the
down the
ordinance
street.
says, correct?
If it's today, I mean, it
You don't have to vote today.
needs to be on the next meeting.
Next meeting, just let us know, and we can set the committee at that next meeting.
Yes.
If it's owner occupied, staying in, and then then we'll develop an enforcement. Or are y'all taking out owner occupied? Then we don't have to do enforcement
No,
because
we can set a committee
everybody.
today.
Yes, sir.
In the next meeting, we can vote on it, pending the information they come up with.
Okay. You need to say the names of your committee.
Who wants on? Michael? Mark? Mr. Sonny?
So the
Michael,
certified.
Mark, and Sonny.
Michael, Mark, and Sonny. Got it.
So the complaints that we did get, you do have the certified letters in your packets. So I did try to reach out to them.
Yeah, you sent them out, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so far, and by listening to legal and y'all, I
Now, we
think,
do have a couple of more that I have not sent out certified because.
you know, I definitely want, you know, we got a complaint, a formal complaint, we did what we could do so far, and I think now we need to get everybody together and listen what's the best way forward and see what benefits everybody and try to mold something.
Mark.
Gentlemen, a few months ago, I came up here with a complaint about RVs being rented. I didn't do it to hurt anybody or anything else. What I did it for was the initiation of trying to take our trash cans from us as RV parks. I came before the jury to ask at that time that being that I've got 10 lots back here in Cameron, that the jury at least give me the opportunity to have 10 trash cans. I was ignored. Nothing was ever done over it. I'm here today to say this. This gentleman right here purchased some RV parks to put RVs in to staff his people. And I'm glad he's doing it because there's no other place down here to be able to put people in. I asked Ms. Robin several years ago I was at an auction, they were selling RVs. I asked her, I said, if I bought a bunch of RVs, could I take them and put them on my property? Ms. Robin, would you tell them what you told me?
No, sir, they have to.
We have an ordinance.
The ordinance was in place that I could not do that. Had to be unoccupied. Okay? Born and raised in Cameron Parish. And I can't even try to make a living because of ordinances. You put ordinances in place, but you don't enforce them. I was told at that one meeting that they didn't have the resources to enforce them.
I think it's like a lock on your house door, Mr. Gilbo.
Do what, sir?
I think it's like a lock on your house door is for honest people.
Yeah. Well, this gentleman is asking that you give him access to be able to put his campers in. He's already bought the property, he's got the campers in place, now he wants to rent them.
He can't own them as it stands today.
I understand what you're saying. Now, Ronnie, you want to put a food truck in Cameron. They've allowed you only so many. Born, raised, and sheriff of Cameron Parish at one time, now a sitting police chief. Will they give you access to get a food truck in here because of your status? I don't think it's fair. I don't think the jury is being fair to the people of Cameron Parish. Every one of you gentlemen have been elected in your different districts. But I'll say this, Cameron Parish is one. I don't care how many districts you make out of it, how many people sit behind that desk right there. Cameron Parish is one parish, and it needs to be treated that way. Every one of you guys can work together and make it one parish. Whatever ordinance or whatever your decision is for the next meeting about the RVs and the RV parks and so forth and so on, needs to be done as a whole. Can't be a Sonny wants this, or Ronnie wants that, Mr. Johnny wants this, Sam wants that. You know, it's got to be one. So, I just don't know what other direction or what else to say, other than if you're gonna get Cameron Parish back on his feet, you need to work as a unit.
Mr. Gears, as an RV park owner, what would you like to see done or not done with this particular ordinance that's in question?
I'd like to see it wide open.
The
If we're
ordinance,
gonna allow one to do it, let everybody do it.
the ordinance be eliminated then,
Exactly,
yeah.
because it doesn't
So,
do
Mr.
any good. For the last 4 or 5 years, you've had different big RV parks, even the motel here, renting RVs out. Nothing was ever done. This gentleman trying to put people to work down here, and which is gonna benefit Cameron sooner or later. He needs a place to put his people. I need a place to put my people.
Right.
So what I did, being that I couldn't get my 10 trash cans, I went before Miss Robin at the permit office and turned all my properties back into residential lots. I'm no longer an RV park, thanks to the police jury.
Would you be for or against, putting a cap on the number of rental units per RV park?
Right now, no, sir.
Right now.
No limit, just wide open. If you got a piece of property and you got a camper you wanna rent, bring it to county.
Yeah.
That's just how I feel about it.
You're well aware there's corporations that can bring in 120 to 200 campers.
Let them bring it in. The population will grow.
You know, I think that the reason the ordinance come about in the first place was maybe potentially running into somebody's structure on Pollins. And I think that's why they done it some years
Okay,
ago,
let
I
me
believe.
explain something to you. I have 2 houses in here that I lived in. One that I had a parshiteria in, and the other one I lived in.
Yes.
You know what took my house out? Mats off the riverfront, crane mats.
Yours wasn't the only one.
It took the house.
Yes, sir.
The hurricane before that was RVs. When I come through, FEMA had an RV park in the backyard. All those RVs, I think they had maybe like 20 of them in there, ended up in my backyard and in my house.
Yes, sir. I believe it.
And Mr. Gibbs, I just want to touch up a little bit again. I think that's why it's crucial for myself, if I can work with the staff of permitting and figure out what we can and can't do, because you're right. Just the other day with these electrical people doing this job right now with all these mats, I specifically asked them, what y'all gonna do in a storm for y'all's mats? We're gonna put anchors in the ground and strap them down. They're not gonna go nowhere. I don't believe that to be factual, but I'm not an engineer. But the thing about it is, when we molding these ordinances, I believe too many people's worried about when a storm comes instead of getting the people back. Well, we got to a place to where we have no people, and the only thing we could argue about is how we're going to do an ordinance to stop people from doing something, or because it's going to hit something, or it's too wide for the road, or we can't get them out, or you can't get a permit to haul them down the road. It's a national disaster. I don't think we're going to ever have a flood that's going to come down and flood us as far as rain-wise. The only time we get flooded is when we get a national disaster. And when that happens, if your place gets hit by a camper that's left, in my opinion, you got legal obligations if you wanted to get paid for it. But I don't think anybody, as yourself, I don't think much of us go out and do legal actions against somebody, because I cleaned a lot of property up in my time as an operator that had everybody else's stuff on a different piece of property. And not one time did I run into, that's not even my stuff we're cleaning up. No, it was, they wanted to get their property clean, and they cleaned it and they took care of it. So I feel for you on that thing, and I hope we could do that. And another thing, in my endeavor to help the people of the parish when it comes to permitting, I'd like some clarification on the record. As a sitting juror, when I need information from the staff or anybody to do my duty, do I have to do a public request, Mr. Tom, or can I ask the staff to give it to me? No, I want to know. I need to know. I got emails.
Off subject.
Do I have to do? It's not off subject. I want to help Mr. Giz to do my job to help Mr. Giz. When I got requests right now to Miss Robin about permits on RV parks, and she's asking Mr. Tom if I could get the documents as a juror. And talking with the Police Jury Association, I don't think I got to do so.
So let me just address that quickly. I have a draft of a letter. I want to talk to you before I send the letter out. It's going to go to all of you addressing that, among a few other things. And it's designed to help keep y'all out of trouble. Ethical issues. But I'll talk to you about that and we'll address that. And so, we can talk about it now or later, but let me get you that letter and see what it says, and then we can fight about what.
I would like clarification, because for the simple fact, I asked you to send a letter to the AG's office a couple months back on if I can and what I had to do to get it. You saying if I was gonna get charged for doing a public request. Okay. So
Right.
I'm asking for clarification.
Right now. Mr. Giz, the committee, if you don't mind, you and Mr. Tad, I know Mr. Tad's here, if you don't mind them guys getting with y'all and to try to get a solution to these RVs.
Well, I'd appreciate anything you
We
do.
will form a committee today.
But whatever you do it parish-wide. Don't do it because of a district.
Yeah, I think Michael's concern, I know it's probably, you heard Michael, in our area, I don't have many campers, but Michael has probably a really nice hotel, and I know they have a hotel here also in Cameron.
Well, I know Mike made a comment a while ago about the hotel in Hackberry and
Yes.
so on, that this guy's 50% occupied and spent a lot of money. Some of these RV parks that are being built down here have spent a lot of money to build those RV parks. They're all cemented, they're all first-class units. So if money is the object, these people have spent money also.
If we get this straightened out, would you be willing to get back in the RV business?
I'm still in the RV business, but
Okay.
I put one RV per lot, per 911 address.
I see. I got you. Okay.
Okay, I'm still putting RVs in. I lost 20 spots. 10 spots, I'm down to 20
Right.
because of what I did. But because of what I did was to benefit me, not the police jury.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, this was tabled from a special meeting on the, I believe this is basically a sales tax. Mr. Scott?
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
First thing I want to start off and let y'all know that Mr. DuPont that was just in here a little while ago.
Yes, sir.
He's in the top 25 taxpayers in this parish with just one business. Stop, and he's adding another big piece over there at Brown's Grocery to extend the doctor's office and all that. Just saying that. Next, I want to clear some stuff that's on Facebook.
Good luck.
I see all the time on Facebook. LNG plants aren't paying anything. LNG plants aren't paying anything yet. I'm here to tell y'all, the top 8 taxpayers in Cameron Parish are our LNG plants. Those eight particular companies pay over $46 million to this parish. Now I'm off my soapbox. So now, whenever it's going to come to a sales tax, I think that y'all.
Thank you for clarifying that on the record.
Yes, sir.
Can you please clarify that the police jury specifically does not get all 46 million?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that is split in between all the entities that are in those particular districts.
It's tax roll. It's called tax roll.
That's called the tax roll. That's right. Dan Groff did a 10-year project to see what the school board wanted to do in the next 10 years to kind of help them stabilize their finances. And he did a part on it that was for income tax, to have a sales tax, I mean. If y'all look over that document, which I think, did somebody give it to all of them? The whole packet? Okay. Yes, please do. That way y'all can look at what it would and would not do as far as to do a sales tax, okay? When the plants are here, you're gonna do good, but whenever the plants aren't here, it's unsure, okay? So then the next thing was consolidation.
Yes.
So, looking into consolidation, the one that y'all are probably most interested in would be the 3 water districts down here. Y'all got a grant, the whole 9 yards. So I kind of put together a little scenario. Let me find it here. Here it is. All right. So you have 3 water districts that are involved down here. And so y'all did something so you could get the grant, the whole 9 yards.
Hey, Mr. Scott, this for the record, in case everybody don't know you, so he's a Cameron Parish tax assessor.
Okay. So I looked at it and said, what's the millage rate? How much was the taxable value? And how much what did they potentially collect this year? I put them all together. The taxable value came up to $75 million. The total taxes collected for the 3 districts together, all together, put as one, is $687,000, okay? To collect that same amount of money, if y'all would consolidate it, right now, as far as using the taxable value, you would have to have an overall 8.5 mil tax. Creole, I think, is 16 something. Cameron, I think, is 7.9. Grand Cheniers, I'm not sure right off the top of my head. I forget that one. But it's right in that same area. So yes, right now your millage rate in a couple areas would have to go up a little bit. But one area would go down tremendously, okay? So let's move forward, and let's say that y'all do decide y'all gonna do that, okay? Remember, 8.5 mils. That's what you-
Also, what the fire districts has done the same here in North Cameron or no?
I think the Cameron district is actually, and I think they voted to consolidate the money. Is that correct? I think that it's all been combined.
Yes.
I know Mr. Tim is the
Yeah,
chief over.
The problem we have with the water consolidation is the jury consolidated the board, but the funds ain't consolidated. At the end of the day, don't make no difference what the jury wants to do. If the people don't vote it in, it's not consolidated.
You're right. No, that's what I'm getting at. So I'm just giving you from my end, facts from my end.
Yep, so that's why we need to get together, which I know I owe you a meet on it, and we need to get it to where we can start educating the people. 'cause
Most definitely, yes. And so let's move forward. VG2 they broke ground. So now I can use some other figures. VG2 is on an 80-20 project. Whenever they go to selling gas, they will come on the tax roll the next year. Okay? So let's say we're at an 8.5. I'm using that 8.5 because that's what we need to collect the same amount as we're doing right now. That first year, that project alone will collect over $3.5 million versus $687,000.
Hey, Scott, if you don't mind, I hate to back you up some, but talk about straightening the record on Facebook. Please let the people know about millages, taxes, and that the police jury does not does not choose just a tax without the people's vote.
No. All that, each entity, the school, the sheriff, my office, all your parish-wide, all of them, you have a max millage.
Voted on by the people.
Voted on by the people. You've got two of your millages that were not up to their max this year, okay? That has been rolled back up to their max. And I would have to assume the reason that y'all rolled it up is because of shortfall in the taxable value. That's what normally happens. So if you look at what we send, our office sends y'all the preliminaries, saying, hey, this is what your taxable value is going to be. So then each entity calculates to see if they're gonna have enough money for their budget. So I would assume that's why y'all rolled them up. I think it just one of them was for y'all, the other one was for the fire. So the
library also. Huh?
The fire district, their board is the one who chose to roll their millage up, and then it was up to y'all for y'all's no.
Police jury.
Oh, so y'all, yeah, okay, so I'm learning.
Yeah, the police jury did, but it's important to note that the taxable value of this year is still less than what it was in 2019. We went 5 years in the Grand Lake Fire District getting less than half of their normal their taxable values on the tax roll every year, and it just kept, because the taxable values fell because of all of the construction and recovery efforts from the hurricane, we were losing that ability to levy that 5.7 tax. They just kept adjusting our max mills down. And I think that's just something that Scott and I talked about, tax assessor, the commission. They need to really look at that and create a different set of rules for communities recovering after hurricanes
Most definitely.
versus normal, because after a hurricane for 5 years, what he goes in and he depreciates everything or exempts it because it's going through construction in progress. So when our taxable values plummet, it completely offsets all of our projections, our budgets, and everything. And then when we try to roll back up, it makes us look like we're trying to raise taxes, but in fact, we're just trying to levy the full amount based off of the taxable values that are just now restoring back to pre-disaster levels.
Right, and look, I was on the fire board, District 14. We can't buy a fire truck. We don't have the money to.
Right.
We have trucks, what, Donna, it's 25 years old, 30 years old?
30 years.
Mark and I and a couple of the firemen went to Texas to buy a used truck a few months ago, last year or something, when I was still on the fire board. And that's what we've been having to do. And it's like Katie says, every 4 years you have to look at looking at that millage also to raise it up to what the people's already voted on.
That's correct.
Otherwise you don't get it. And that amendment was tried to pass by the people that we wouldn't have to do that every 4 years. But that amendment was voted down.
Yes, that's correct.
So now
It surely
we still
was.
have to look at that 4 years, millage roll up or not.
Absolutely.
If you do not roll it up, then you don't get what the people voted on. You can't get it because it's going to stay where it's at.
Absolutely.
If I made myself kind of clear.
Right, and so for the record, the voters of Grand Lake Fire District voted 5.7 mils in 2022.
Right.
That's correct. And so, yes, again, I will reiterate what Mr. Ron has said. It is by law that if you do not roll your max millage up to the top at least once every 4 years, you lose that max millage.
Right.
And so you don't ever want to lose it. You can roll it back down the next year.
Right.
But you have to save it. Hopefully legislation to get done this next year that'll prevent that we don't ever have to roll up to the max millage unless we need it.
But that still has to come to a vote to the people. Right.
The constitutional amendment.
Yes, the constitutional amendment.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
But for the public to understand, even though the jury levied the max mill for Grand Lake Fire and for the general fund, they rolled back the health unit and the library. So the total net taxes were actually down this year by 1.97 mils.
Yeah.
That's some good
You're
information.
talking about, even if we roll up, I think we're just talking about from 4.07 to 4.08, or no, 4.04 to 4.05.
Yeah.
A hundredths of
A hundredth of a mil.
a hundredths of a mil.
Yeah, that's right. For every meal, 1,000 taxable value collects $1. Simple math. 1,000 equals 1. So.
For any resident that wants to learn it even better, just raise your hand and we'll put you on the board.
Raise your hand. I hope that this has been a little bit informational. I want y'all to know that if y'all want to do community meetings to talk about this, which I think is a really great idea, let's just schedule it between us, and I'll go to, if I gotta go to 20 meetings, we'll have 20 meetings, so that we can educate the people even more. But it's all up to y'all.
Yeah, I'd like.
I'm just giving you numbers, guys.
Grand Shares Water District millage is 6.47.
That's right, 6.47.
And I just want to, one of the things we talked about early on was the sales tax. And the reason that come up was because we have these new plants fixing to be built, CP2, Cheniere's fixing to expand. Everybody's expanding. Okay, new, one across the river right here wants to build. We're gonna have billions and billions of dollars invested in our parish, which is a good thing. But do you know how much money we're losing because they got a 10-year tax exemption? We don't
Yeah, I understand, very much.
And there is possibilities of putting in a temporary, now we say 5-year sales tax, and capture this. We were talking about a significant amount of money. I think about every 500 million, we would get $1 million on a 2 cent.
On a 2%. Yeah, that's probably about correct.
And my deal is, we're talking about a significant amount of money to operate until these funds finally show up in 2000, whatever, 28. So we wanted to talk about that, and there's a lot of mess, nobody likes taxes, we hate the taxes we get.
Of course, yes.
But we need to talk about these things.
Yes.
They need to understand what's slipping through our fingers and what opportunities. We have to listen to, my road needs to be paved. Well, can't pave your road, I have no money.
Correct.
Okay? And we are obligated to find out where we can get that money. So
Yes, that's
I'd like to have open, honest discussion. I don't want mudslinging, rock throwing.
No,
That's
that's
what
right.
it ends up being. But my point being is, we don't want to tax you. When we tax you, we tax it us.
Correct, absolutely.
But we need to have these discussions.
Right. Now, you have to remember, I'm not a sales tax guy, you know, but I'll help any way that I can. I just know that so something else, since we're on Dan Groff, he did this thing for the school board because they're trying to put together a 10-year plan for the influx of money that should start coming in the next couple of years. And so they're just trying to get their duckies in a row. I would probably suggest, Tom,
I agree.
that y'all may want to get Dan to do y'all one for each one of the entities that you have. The reason being is so that you can show the people this is what our game plan is. I've got a water district on the west side. That's all I'm going to say. They've given me a 10-year plan on what they want to spend. I said, hey, you're going to get this much money. You're going to get $50 million. That's just a fit. It's not just a number. I'm just throwing something out there. I said, how are you going to spend this $50 million in the next 10 years? They said, here's my list. So as they get some money, guess what they do? They start fixing, doing what they have to do to get, while this money is here, to get their things up to date. How old is our water system down here?
Yeah, it's something like an actuary service, you know, they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's correct. And so I think he might be working on the sheriff's, Tom? Is he working on the sheriff's yet?
I don't know that Chris has agreed to work with Dr. Groff on a plan like the school board did. I don't know where they are in the process.
Yeah, I'm not
They
sure either.
he agreed to do it. It's beneficial for planning.
Yeah.
Now, y'all will do a little more, your budget, but you also have, I don't know, 20-something special taxing districts that would have, have boards that would have to be part of the evaluation, I would think.
Yeah.
So, y'all can look at what Mr. Dan's, the sales tax, look at what he shows. You know, it's gonna show you the highs and the lows and all that. It's some very, great information.
Mr. Scott, I believe it's Plaquemine Parish.
Mm-hmm.
Just the LNG bill alone significantly increased their, they have a sales tax there, right?
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Well, and I think one thing that the public has to understand, we're not talking about taxes because we're sitting on a pile of money. We're talking about taxes because we're struggling on roads. I mean, we are. All of our roads are deteriorating in the parish. Our road and bridge struggles. I mean, we're always constantly trying to figure out a creative, we're just talking about contracts and different things to try to save money. So it's not like we're sitting here. I don't believe there's one person here that believes in taxes, that likes taxes. I mean, we all would love the smallest amount of taxes possible. Just same as a business. I mean, we want to help those as well. But we're in times right now where we got to try to come up with a solution to best fit and best serve the people for our responsibilities.
I think that, I know that, it would have to go to the people to vote, and I understand that, and I understand they voted against it or for it, but about 10 years ago, I went to the police jury, and I was talking about a 2-cent sales tax for all of us, and we split it up. I think I need like a quarter or maybe a half a cent. I was in the bind then, and And we didn't do that jointly. We agreed with the police jury not to do that because we had the pilot program. And that never did get developed, so I went back to them because I told them I'd like to run a quarter or a half a cent sales tax for the sheriff's office because you know, to get back on my feet till the LNG taxes started coming in, it would be a temporary thing. But that pilot program was still on the horizon, and I supported that. But I think we've lost a lot of money already. Sonny just said slipped through the fingers. He was here then, and it's not so much the LNG companies is the construction companies too. That was and that could maybe be imposed for during the construction time or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know if I'd vote for it, but just throwing that out, you know.
No, it's just worth talking about. It's really.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a discussion.
No, that's right. Yeah.
It needs a whole lot more.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Looking into, you know, same
Yeah,
thing with
no,
consolidation.
I'm ready. Y'all
However,
set up,
we have to start somewhere.
Now, Dan did a great job at the school board meeting explaining this. And he was very detailed, very in-depth. I'd like to see the same thing happen with us and have this, have him explain to us what exactly it would look like. 'Cause
right.
It was impressive.
Very impressive. That's correct. That was very impressive. Yes. So we're gonna be all right, guys. We just gotta take baby steps.
And I'd like to say thank you, Scott, to you. I know you worked hard. You worked very hard, and you worked hard on this. And you've explained a lot to me. When I first was elected, I told Scott, take me to tax school, and he has.
Yeah.
And it's been great, and I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you too, Sam. I appreciate all y'all guys. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thanks.
Let's get the ball rolling.
Yes.
Let's send out some emails and let's get it done.
Thank you, sir.
All right, y'all have a good day.
In the review. Any questions?
Mr. President, on appointments.
Yes, sir.
Would it be okay if I put an appointment on there that wasn't on the agenda? Actually have a guy for the Recreational District 5 that I'd like to put. It has been tabled for a few months now.
It was tabled anyway. Yes.
I have Jordan Thompson. He can fill out the appropriate paperwork while he's here if necessary. Be an appointment to Rec District 5.
Can you remind me what our sponsorship is for the festival, fishing festival?
It's 5,000. And we do provide force account labor and equipment for the duration of the festival at no cost to them. We don't bill them because they are set up as a nonprofit.
Can we define what we're going after on line 21? Is this the more information and trying to get the,
That was, so I actually, this was part of what we just talked about, and to consider, you know, looking into what would consolidation look like.
so this is
And
just to
if
try to
we
get
have to,
advisement on that?
What is it, Mr. Gross? What's it, what's?
Dan Groff.
Dan Gross.
Dan Groff.
It may be that we, may need to have him involved. Dan?
Is it okay that we reword that and trying to get Mr. Dan? Are y'all okay with that?
Yeah. Jimmy and Reed.
I would just like to reword it and simplify it where we reach out to just Mr. Dan instead of.
It's actually Dr. Dan Groff.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and there's more to it than that. It's actual, you know, potentially talking to the folks, the people, maybe having, some kind of meetings with the people.
I guess I would also like to see it say like some kind of discussion, not action to pursue.
Yeah.
You know,
Action
I
to
just-
pursue is what, it's a little short for my decision.
But that's not an actual consolidation, you know.
I'd like to have a
Well,
little bit
I
more
would-
information on that too, though, before we went to the public, meetings. I'd like to have
I agree.
stuff together.
Well, when it comes up, vote, y'all can add in what y'all want to add in as we go there.
But right now, we're seeking to get information from Mr. Dan to do that study. So
And
then
others.
we can bring that to the public, is what we're saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
So a budget allocation to hire a professional service contractor to, or do you want to look at consolidating all the special service districts or just specific ones? Like,
All, and see what it would all look like.
so look and see what all the recs, all the drainage boards.
Yes.
With that said, I'd like to see, Tom be involved in the sense that what's legal and what's not legal, what kind of vote that's gonna take, for said districts versus parish-wide, things of that nature. We need to know all the ins and outs.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's mainly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's a lot, you know, it's a lot to it, right?
Yeah.
Right now, we can't even really investigate it without having some kind of blessing from the jury.
Yeah. In his case, he's looking at options. I think they did some bonding on the taxes to come. We can look at that too, but he also talked about a sales tax. He talked about a lot of different things. So when he does his review of our parish, it should be all-inclusive.
That's correct.
So,
That's correct. He'll do you one just like the school board.
A, 7 Delta.
Which one? 7 what?
Or is that
Metro Road.
here on, the
Cameron.
Jetty Road?
What is?
Cross Claire, or is that the Jetty?
Oh, thank you, Rob. So D, it's actually, there's a misprint there. It's supposed to be land instead of lane. Yes, it is 301 Wakefield Road. That's actually venture,
Okay.
improving
That's what I was confused.
a lot that was, used in the past for oil and gas activities. And also F, it is located, the Sabine Pass liquefaction, that is the Stage 5, Sabine Pass Stage 5 expansion project. That is not in Cameron. It is off of Highway 82, Gulf Beach Highway in Johnson Bayou.
Cole Cameron, huh?
I was waiting on you to point that out to me, Mr.
well,
Smitty.
what they have in Cameron is a compressor station. I think what they're talking about is where the pipeline is crossing.
This is the pipeline, right.
They're gonna build a compressor station somewhere in.
There's several
area.
compressor stations.
But there's gonna be one on the west side at around Oyster Bayou, if I'm not mistaken. So I thought that they would be.
Not in this application. It doesn't show that.
Which permit,
Yeah, that was, but, yeah.
So would it be all right?
It's in Liberty County, Jefferson County, and the pipeline, the compressor stations. And there's one in, I think the one in Liberty is called the Moss Bluff Compressor Station. And then the pipeline runs through all of that, both of them counties, crosses under the Sabine,
I think that's.
Sabine Lake.
That's a different pipeline. What the compressor station I'm
Okay.
talking about, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I hate to put words in their mouth, but,
So it's not part of this one?
It's gonna be on the existing pipeline, and
Okay.
it's gonna be around Oyster Bay.
Gotcha.
Crosses the river.
This one's like 55.6 miles in length, so
And also the one on, Bobby's Lane.
Bobby's
I believe that's the
Lane.
one.
G.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. So it says temporary staging, but it sounded like they may be doing some concrete.
Yeah, he's gonna modify the application to include his
We need that,
waste
we
concrete.
might need that
recycling.
reworded.
Well,
Right.
again, pardon me, we're gonna do crushing operations, we'd like to, but it could be that we're gonna do it on the 37 acres across the street, so we may choose to leave Bobby's as is and include it when we
Okay.
come.
So you're not applying for, you're not looking for a permit for that today?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's just for staging and, equipment storage.
So back to 21, are y'all okay with consideration of action to seek information relating to tax consolidation options? Something worded in that manner?
Yeah,
Okay. I'll share that with Ms. Mary.
Yeah, when you make your motion, we'll
Yeah, when we
make sure
act-
everything that you
we
want to
decide
know.
to go ahead with the consolidation, we'll meet. Before consolidation.
Mr. President, I do have 2 add-ons that I'd like to request, if
Yes,
I
ma'am.
can go over them. We received 2 change orders after our deadline of last week. I did email these to you guys on, I think, Wednesday or Thursday for your review. It is for the North Cameron EOC. The first change order, which is 10, is per your OEP director, Mr. Dan Laverne. He wanted to make a few changes in his communications room to better serve him during disaster recovery and response. That change order is for an additional 3 days in the amount of $4,638.57. Any questions about that particular change order before I go to the next one?
I was gonna ask you how many added days, because,
3 days.
personally, I don't intend on adding a whole lot of days to that job.
You know,
Yes.
it's always nice to be able to include everything with no change orders, but that's an impossibility on a job that size. As you go along, you see different things that need to be done, and especially for emergency operations, we have to have special equipment. Dispatch, it costs a lot to move, and it's not just like setting up an office.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it's for our communication, for Danny, we good.
Correct. Change order 11 was also received after the date. It is owner change order requested by both Danny and I again, and Mr. Randy Thomas. It's for what we call the break room, which is pretty much the kitchen area. And we added a few extra receptacle outlets, and we took out a freezer, and we changed some of the cabinetry areas, how it was aligned out. That way it was actually movable, so in the event we had to stay there, stage operations there after a hurricane, the break room could be turned into an overnight campsite. There's room to sleep, enough room to put cots up, and then to bring in any extra electrical components that we would need for, like I said, for response and recovery efforts. That is also 3 days added to the contract, and in the amount of $3,572.59.
That's good. We pretty well have to think in those terms, because we know in the past we live in those situations where we have to stay at the emergency operations deal, and we've had to beg, bore, and steal all this time. And I'm glad to see this coming about, but we do have to make it to where, we're gonna be staying there, or a lot of people is gonna be staying there. So that's what we have to look in terms of.
Those are both change orders. It would be items 25 and 26, I believe, Mary.
And then we're gonna have a change order, an add-on for Ms. Kim for the letter of authority for the port to piggyback.
Mary, that doesn't need to be a change order.
Oh, she told, no, it's
That's
not.
just daily
It's not a
operation.
change order.
I mean, that doesn't have to be voted on. That's just
So she told me she needed it, so that's fine.
no, that's okay. That's just an email response. that's kind of getting into daily operations.
Okay.
And then we're gonna add the Grand Lake Rec appointment.
Yes, and then we do have an announcement, if there are no other questions. Mr. Randy Thomas has retired officially. We weren't sure it was gonna happen. I think he has talked about it and threatened us for about a year and a half. But he actually did retire effective July 4th. He celebrated Independence Day, saying it was his Independence Day. So we do have a new CVO to represent Cameron Parish. It's Mr. Clayton Guidry. You want to stand up, Clayton? He is certified. He has worked under Randy, and so he is prepared to handle all of your chief building official duties moving forward.
All right.
And congratulations, Randy. I know you're not watching. He is. He's most likely in Toledo. But he says that he does have he gave us his phone number, and he says we can call him anytime. Just have to call him early in the day. He actually did work all last week, even though he was using his annual leave, trying to tie up some loose ends.
What's your two questions?
No, anything else from the staff? Is it?
I don't think so.
Good job.
Mr. Johnny? Being quiet.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna take about a 15-minute break.
Need a motion?
Motion by Mr. Michael, second by Mr. Sam. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.